Hello, it is Monday. My name is Simon Miller. So there's only one thing to do, and that is muse. Hence why this show is called Miller's Musings. Now, it's really hot here in Britain, if you don't know, hence why I'm wearing a vest. Weird thing to tell you about my choice of clothing attire, but I just think sometimes it's a bit weird to just pop up on a vest in a video. Clearly because I'm quite mental myself. Anyway, talking of the word mental, probably shouldn't use that word, probably a bit insulting, you know what I mean. Miller's Musing is a weekly series about mental health, depression, sadness, happiness, life, all those kind of things, just because, yeah, to be completely honest, it's something I'm very passionate about. It's something I don't believe gets talked about enough, and therefore I like to talk about it. I know I do that intro every week, but hopefully more and more new people are watching this, so it's nice to make sure everybody's in the fold. Now, today I kind of went through all the videos. I thought, what haven't we talked about? We've kind of talked about everything in a grand scheme or a general point of view, but I thought today I wanted to talk about self-esteem. Because self-esteem really ties into everything else, right? I mean, if you have high self-esteem or you have a good sense of self-esteem, whatever the right phrase would be, even though you may go through sad times and not happy times, more often than not, people don't fall into a state of depression because you have good self-esteem. And usually, there's always exceptions to the rule, but usually, depression comes from someone that doesn't have high self-esteem, because of course it wouldn't. If your self-esteem is low, you're not going to have a very high opinion of self, and that can lead to one of many things. And self-esteem is not, it's not like it's not a fixed thing. It can go up, it can go down, it can go left, it can go right. Some days you can have really good self-esteem, and then other days, something in my eye, you can have really bad self-esteem. And I think that I don't like using the word problem because I think it's a problem, but I think a trap that a lot of us fall into, myself included, is that our self-esteem or our self-worth, they're both kind of the same thing, are tied up in what other people think about us or how other people view us, or how other people see us, or whatever. There's 100 things that we could talk about. But yeah, it comes from an outward place, which I think is why many a time it can be like a yo-yo. Simply because if it's based on what other people think of you, or how other people treat you, or what they say to you, then yeah, there is no way to know what your self-esteem is going to be like on any given day, because you don't know what that day is going to bring. Now, the worry there is, if you're, and again, we all do it. I'm not saying that I've mastered this by any stretch of the imagination, but if we all allow that to be wound up in what other people think of us, how can it be self-esteem? It's not. We're allowing outside processes or outside or things that we can't control to control our self-esteem. And really, self-esteem has to come from within. Now, how we get there is a completely different argument or debate or chat to have, because there is no real one path to get good self-esteem. I think it's possible for everybody to find that place, but how you get there, again, is going to be your own personal journey. But I think one thing that we can all agree upon, which is why I wanted to focus on it this time, is that, yeah, it's because the other thing as well is, if your self-esteem is wrapped up with other people, they're going to be having their own struggles and their own ups and downs too. So if they can have such an effect or such, dominate your life in that area so much, then again, it all depends on if they're happy or if they're sad. And it's a domino effect. And that's the one thing we want to avoid, which is why when it comes to self-esteem, again, we have to look inside of us. And a lot of people do that with meditation. They do that by going to see a counselor, or we talk about it as we're doing now, and slowly you can build up your self-esteem. But it should almost be like bulletproof, in that you control it. So even if you do wake up and have a bad day, you know that you have a strong sense of self and a strong self-worth, and you know that you are worth something. Because that's the other thing. Everybody is worth something. Now, you can get into a whole different argument where you talk about people that have committed crimes or done bad things. I think, again, that kind of, we'll use this as a remit to talk about good people, or people that are just trying to get on with their own lives day in, day out, struggling to get through the day, as we always talk about. Everybody has self-worth. Everybody has something to offer. Again, we talked about this last week, but there is a stigma as well that to offer something, you have to be famous or rich or a celebrity. And that's where the self-worth comes. But as we discussed then, that's not true at all, because we see celebrities going through hard times. And incredibly, we see celebrities kill themselves, even though it looks like they've got the world on a plate. But again, they're going to be struggling with their own self-esteem for whatever reasons that is. And that's why everybody has a worth, whether you're, I don't know, a doctor, a teacher, you work in retail, you're a customer support helper, you make videos, whatever it is, you have a self-worth. And it's not even to other people as well, because people think, I haven't got any friends. Even if that is the case, and I really hope that isn't, but I understand people feel that way, you still have something to offer you. And that sounds cheesy as shit, right? But it's true. In your world, and I'm not saying that we should be selfish, we should be selfless people, and we should be altruistic, and we should help others, but in your world, the most important part of that world is you. Again, you can compromise, and if you have kids and stuff, that changes. But, no one sees the world how you see the world because nobody else is you, which makes you an individual, which makes you unique, and there's your self-worth. Because you add something, you bring something to the world, because we all do. Because, if we were all the same and we were all just a bunch of zombies or a bunch of clones, then yeah, you'd be a face among the pigeons and it wouldn't make a difference, but you're not. The fact that you are you, and the fact that you think like you, and the fact that your thoughts are individual, and you have certain passions, and you may be a bit quirky, you may do this, you may do that, you may be funny, you may be emotional, whatever, that is worth something. And it's not worth something to me, and it's not worth something to Jack, who lives down the road. It's worth something to you. Because really, if we get super hippie-trippy about it, we're all kind of blessed to be here anyway. And if you actually think of the mechanics behind birth, what are the odds? Do you know what I mean? And that's going a bit too off left field. But you take my point, and because of that, it would be great if we could all just look at that and go, oh, I'm lucky to be alive, or, when a loved or a friend or a well-known figure passes away. That gives you some perspective. But that's not how it works, because if that was the case, we'd all watch the news and feel great because look how much bad stuff's happening in the world. But even outside of all of that, it's true. It sounds like there should be some light switch moment, but there's not. The reason you have self-worth and the reason you matter is because you're you, and because you're here. And again, you will mean something to your family and your friends and your work colleagues. And again, it shouldn't be reflected the other way around. It shouldn't be like, oh, well, I should feel good because I mean something to them. That should just be sort of part of it as you try to build up your self-worth and try to give yourself some meaning, I guess, and some importance. But everybody does. No matter what you're doing or where you're heading, it is true. And trying to get there is the hard part, right? Because me just saying it with no real, it's not like turn left, go up 7 flights of stairs to cross the X on the floor. Oh, there's your self-worth. Sometimes just about saying it. And yeah, I think that sometimes we struggle because, again, we are looking for it in places where it will work and it will fill up that tank, but that tank will start to deplete again. And what we really want is to fill up the tank, put a top on it, put a lock on it, and the tank never goes down again. Meaning you can survive anything because your self-worth comes from within. It's not easy, and it's even harder if you've been suffering for a while and now you're almost in a, your norm is a depressed or a sad state, because getting out of that is hard anyway. And luckily there are ways and means to get out of that, as we've discussed before. But I think sometimes it's important to state, in case you have woken up this morning and you're feeling a bit like empty, I guess is the right word, look inwards. Don't look outwards, which is weird because I'm doing a video, right? Which is almost a paradox. Not paradox, but you know what I mean? It's weird that I'm doing a video telling you to look inwards by looking outwards. But it's got to be a catalyst. I'm not saying it's going to change the world or anything, but if it can get somebody to start doing that, it's the whole point of these series, is that, like I say, I find mental health, while it's great, much better in 2018 than it has been, there's still a stigma around it. There's still a negativity around it. We don't talk about it as much as we should. There's not enough funding for it. On a complete side note, I saw that the NHS is going to start putting more money into helping the NHS here in the UK to focus on mental health, which is great. But I also saw, and I need to see the ins and outs of this first, they're taking away certain surgeries that they now deem unnecessary. And that to me is a bit like, well, what if it's those, if stuff like breast reduction? I said, well, some people get depressed because they feel their breasts are too big. And then it's like, well, anyway, that's a whole different argument. My point is that I think sometimes the reason I make these videos is because I think sometimes we're too linear in our thinking when it comes to mental health, and I think sometimes we should just cast the net even wider. That's neither here nor there. That was a really strange tangent. I don't know why I went on that, but it's true. It's something I thought, so I've mentioned it. But yeah, self-worth is really almost the foundations and sort of the concrete we need to lay to start getting to a better and a happy place. And I get it. It's really easy to get caught up in the badness and the sadness, because it just is. We all say life is really difficult. Life is really hard. But when you're in those moments, reminding yourself that no matter what it is that you're stressed about, that's external matters that don't reflect on you as a human being, and that you as a human being are really important. That to me is a really, it's a crucial message to send out there, because we all do it. Of course we all do it. If someone pays us a compliment, we feel good about ourselves, right? You know what that is? Because our self-worth goes up. And there's no one paying compliments, but it's good to have that base anyway, where you don't need that. If you get it, it's like an extra bonus. It's like when you get a bonus at the end of the year if you work for a big company. You know you're going to get your salary and wage, but the extra bonus makes you feel a bit better, even though really it's just more cash. That's what a compliment should be. And again, not easy. I don't want this to come across like... And again, I struggle with it. We all struggle with it. And we can get knocked very easy, especially in the day and age of the internet, right? Where you've got crazy people on social media just And again, they're only throwing out these jabs. They're only being negative because they feel negative within themselves. That's always the way. If you're being really successful and you're doing really well, nobody ever sees the hard work because they don't want to, even if you're, pushing it in their face. And they will try and drag you down to their level. That's what they do. And that's why self-worth is so important. Because if you've got it and you're strong, these people can't do that. But I completely understand why it does happen as well. It's horrible. People shouldn't be horrible, but they are because they're miserable within themselves. I like to keep it around 10 minutes. We just clocked over that. So I'll draw a line under this one. Again, please do go back and watch all the other Miller's Musings. The big playlist. I think we're on about 19 or 20 now. I'll keep doing them every week. Thank you to everyone that always says nice words, leaves a comment, drops me a line on Twitter at Simon316. All the information in the description below. Yeah, it means a lot. And if I can just help half a person, not even one, if I can help half a person, then it makes these all worthwhile. So we'll keep doing them. Let me know what else you'd like to talk about. Maybe there's something specific you're struggling with and you think it'd just be nice to open the chat. Again, I am not the be-all and end-all. I certainly would never claim to be either. I'm not even that important in the grand scheme of things. Again, if you're really struggling, you should go see a doctor or a mental health professional. However, I disagree with this theory that some people have that these videos are somehow... Only a few people have said this. These are bad, but I don't agree with that. These should be a conduit to getting you better. This is certainly not the be all and end all. I don't think I've ever made that apparent. Why am I even dressing this? I don't know. Anyway, we'll be back next Wednesday. Thank you for watching. My name's Simon Miller. Miller's Musings. I appreciate it, and you take care of yourself because you're doing all right.